Please welcome our next performer.
That's Saehyun Kim, 16 from South Korea, showing us how it's done at the piano. And we are just getting started at this 2023 Cliburn International Junior Piano Competition. Bridget, that was a great performance, don't you
Wow,
think?
I couldn't believe the command. He was taking himself on a journey, but we were with him every step of the way. And the voicings and the BACH, the LISZT, BACH Fugue was just incredible to hear.
We're going right to the stage for our next competitor. She is Seoeun Lee, 14 from South Korea also. Here she is. That was Seoeun Lee, 14 years old, from South Korea, finishing with a great performance of the Mendelssohn Variation Seoeun. We didn't get a chance to introduce you to Seoeun Lee before she played, so we're going to do that now. Take a look.
피아노 소리가 들렸는데 그때 피아노 소리가 되게 너무 좋아가지고 제가 엄마 손을 이렇게 막 끝까지 여기 가자고 학원 가자고 해서 그렇게 시작하게 된 거예요. 쇼팽 되게 서정적이면서 또 그 멜로디가 되게 저한테 그 심장이 울리게 하는 그런 게 있어요. 무대 연습하는 거랑 또 많은 친구들을 사귀는 것과 그런 거.
Welcome back to the webcast at this 2023 edition of the Cliburn International Junior Piano Competition and Festival. I'm your host, Buddy Bray.
I'm your co-host, Bridget Kibbe. We are broadcasting live from the Caruth Auditorium in Dallas, Texas.
And while our audience here live in Caruth Auditorium in Dallas takes a 20-minute break, this is a good opportunity for Bridget and I to do a little brief recap of what we've heard in these first three performances. Got us off to a good start, didn't it?
Buddy, a strong start to the whole competition. It's really incredible to hear the variation in these players and the varying strengths they really bring to the repertoire, the piano, their inner worlds coming out. It's beautiful to see.
You know what I was just thinking about is that our first, our second and third competitors of the day, Saehyun Kim and Seoeun Lee, both did double duty with fugues in their program because they did a BACH fugue, and then Saehyun ended with that Fantasy and Fugue on BACH of LISZT. And then Seoeun Lee came out, did her Prelude and Fugue, did a Chopin Etude, and then the Mendelssohn Variations, in which there is a fugato, so they did double duty with fugues. Those strike terror in the hearts of pianists. Why do you think that is? And musicians really in general.
Absolutely.
You hear that word and you just...
I think when you think of the fugue, you're basically becoming an engineer with all this emotion piled on top, but you have to maintain these building blocks in their perfect place for everything to make sense. And I was incredibly impressed with Saehyun Kim and the way he voiced the fugue. It was incredible to hear the command of the voicings, and it was also beautiful to see Seoeun and create kind of a general consistency and shimmer within the fugue. So they both had a different approach to that, but both just masterful minds and players.
Really, really mastery. And then our first competitor, young Schulmeister, that mastery to that mastery of the lyrical is what I found so beguiling in his playing, I think.
I think he had this warm kind of thread in his sound that always allowed, like you said, that lyricism to shine through.
Great.
No matter what textures were involved in it.
And you know, I think also in a performer like young Schulmeister, you see that virtuosic side because we also had those BIZET variations on Carmen too. So he was showing us all he had as well. Now remember that you can also see all the lists of names of all our competitors, what they're playing and what time they're playing at cliburn.org.
Exactly, Buddy. You can also go to the social media platforms to read more about these wonderful competitors and the repertoire they've chosen. And I have to say their biographies are delightful, so I recommend a read of those as well.
Now, intermission is a wonderful time for our audience here at Caruth Auditorium on the campus of Southern Methodist University right here in Dallas. Gives them a chance to shop at the Cliburn gift shop, which is set up live in the lobby out here at Caruth. But if you're watching by webcast, you can also participate at the Cliburn gift shop. All you have to do is surf on over to shop.cliburn.org, or you can scan the QR code that you've seen on your screen also. We've got 3 more performers coming up after intermission, the first of which is Yiran Zhou. She's going to play works by BACH, of course, the C-sharp major Prelude and Fugue. She's also going to play that LISZT Etude that we heard very early in the competition that Jan Schulmeister played, that Appassionato Prelude and Fugue. And then we're going to hear works by Rachmaninoff. She's going to play two pieces by Fritz Kreisler, actually, that Rachmaninoff transcribed for piano. She's going to do Liebesleid and Liebesfreude, Love's Sorrow and Love's Joy. Now, you are big on transcription. What is the deal on you in transcription?
Well, you know, I want to beg, borrow, and steal as a harpist. And of course, when you spend time at the Cliburn, you want to transcribe piano transcription, do a piano repertoire. So I think getting all this repertoire in my ears, it's really fun to transcribe, specifically the Well-Tempered Clavier. Many of the preludes and fugues work really well on the harp, and it's a wonderful exercise for the ear to read through those. So I think a lot of harpists are taking that on more and more, on top of the French suites and some of the Lude suites. So the Baroque repertoire is so lovely, but it's just, it really is so inspiring to hear this repertoire in the minds of these young talents. It really informs us as performers as well. And we know that Van Cliburn would have especially enjoyed hearing these young performers himself. You know, I knew him a little bit, and it was touching the way he related to young performers, because he had such a heart for them, and he knew if the young performers won, he knew exactly what was about to happen to them and their lives, because he had been through it himself. He was such a guiding light for all of us, and I knew him at a time when he had just started to play a little bit again. So it was a wonderful thing. So we're going to hear three performers after intermission. And we've got a lot coming up in this intermission segment for you as well. In a minute, we're going to be joined by Orion Weiss, who is a jury member at this competition. But first, let's take a look at the namesake of our competition, and that is Van Cliburn himself. He's talked about in this video by two that remembered him the best.
It was against this backdrop of mutual anxiety and suspense that Texas's Van Cliburn emerged, not only winning the first Tchaikovsky competition in Moscow, but ushering in the possibility for a new generation of cultural exchange between the East and the West.
The Soviets at that time had just excelled in space and at the Olympics with gold medals, and they said, we can even do it in the arts too.
That such a competition would be won by an American, and that's what happened. Van went there. He won over the Russian public. He won over the judges. He played like an angel. I interviewed Vera Gornostayeva, who was a revered teacher at the Moscow Conservatory, and I have a picture in my book of her pointing to her heart. And that was in response to my question, what distinguished Van's playing?
And I remember perfectly well how barely my father and mother squeezed me through the crowd because there were no tickets. And I sat on my father's lap and heard Van play Tchaikovsky's first piano concert. Van Cliburn came to Russia and brought them back some fantasy which Russians lost during this, so many tragedies which Russians went through.
I mean, now we refer to him as President Bush, but he was George then. I mean, he said, you know, we're opening the ballpark, and I would like to do something special. Do you have any suggestions? And I said, well, I think one of the best things you could do would be to have Van Cliburn play the national anthem. And he said, well, Van's not going to do that. He wouldn't do something like that for, you know, for a baseball game.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, to perform our national anthem on opening day at the ballpark in Arlington, please welcome Texas's own Van Cliburn, joined by the Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Maestro Zhou. Welcome Texas's own Van Cliburn, joined by the Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Maestro John Giordano.
Isn't that crazy? It's crazy. And I mean, all of a sudden he stops and he gets up and he grabs the microphone. Oh, say, you know, here it is.
Welcome back to the webcast. I'm Buddy Bray. I'm your host for this edition of the Cliburn International Junior Piano Competition and Festival. And in this break, as promised, we are talking to one of our illustrious jurors. He is Orion Weiss. It's not his first visit to the Cliburn Junior Competition, but it is your first visit as a juror, right?
Yes, I'm coming back in a different capacity. Now I feel nervous. Last time I was just teaching. This time I feel like I'm part of it. Yeah.
Oh, great. What is there to feel nervous about, do you think?
Well, something about listening in this intense way with the responsibility of being a juror makes you feel like you're part of it. And I never did a competition like this, but the lights are so bright, the intensity is so great. It's thrilling even just to be on the other side. So maybe I'm rooting for them. I'm hoping for them. I see how amazingly they're playing and how much they prepared for it. So maybe it's all you all get wrapped up.
All of that just makes you the ideal juror. I think you just said you were rooting for them, and of course we're just rooting for every single one of them,
oh my
right?
Goodness.
But what you just said reminds me of one of our favorite jurors who was Menachem Pressler, and he, even at a late age, was sitting bolt upright. He played every note with them.
Yes.
It seems like he was really rooting for them.
It feels like that, and I think it's a combination of just knowing how hard you have to work to get to this level, but also that it's such a beautiful thing. I love this music so much. They obviously love it. The audience loves it. It's in a way, it's like a coming together of that. There's this huge community of people who are willing to devote their lives to something that is so profoundly great, and I feel it too. And maybe that's all the nervousness.
As you have done, you have devoted your life to something that's just bigger than all of us.
So much bigger,
right?
yes, but so worthy. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, what are you listening for? This is a different kind of listening, of course, not very passive at all. What are you listening for, do you think?
It's so hard to say. One thing I remember talking to my father about. My father is one of my earliest musical inspirations. Not a musician, but just loved music so much and always was putting CDs on for me. And I remember playing something for him that he wasn't getting. I think it was maybe the Berg Chamber Concerto. And my advice that I think I got from Copland's book on what to listen for in music was you listen for not for what it doesn't have, but what it does have. And so that's what I'm trying to do that with the competitors. Just say, obviously you can't have a blank slate when someone comes on. You have expectations, especially with pieces that you know so well. But being willing to take where they're going and go with it and see if it's successful, then who cares how they did it? If it moves you, if it's I guess within the realms of taste, then that's fantastic.
So if it works on their terms, right? Because everybody has something, nobody has everything.
That's right, and you don't know what to, and that's one of the most amazing things that we don't know what to expect, and each new person is like each new piece is a new discovery, but each new person playing a new piece is even more like a discovery.
How do you take yourself out of the equation? If there's a piece which you've played a lot of music by this time in your career, if you're hearing a piece that a competitor is playing and you play the piece yourself, how do you take yourself out of that?
Oh, I mean that's
of course
impossible. I mean sometimes you hear something, you go, wow, I wish I could do that. But then that's even more. Then you realize, well, that's a really amazing thing. And then of course you have. I've dealt with that for my whole life. I listen to recordings when I'm learning a piece. Sometimes I stay away from it early on and come back later. And then you hear things that you want to add and hear things that you're doing that you're proud that you thought of in the first place. And you hear just differences, things that you could never, that are inimitable, and I guess that's what makes it so rich and so open for new people and new interpretations.
And so intense. I can see it running across your brain.
Oh my goodness! I mean, I'm still in it. We have a little break, but I'm not even here with you. I'm still hearing. Yeah.
And do you practice while you're here? You're a very, very busy performer, and so will you be able to carve out time to actually get to the keyboard yourself?
Well, I think we have at least for the first 2 days mornings free. I haven't even looked at the schedule ahead of now.
That might be best.
Yeah, and we have the jurors have keyboards in the room. I'm learning some pieces that I have to play this summer, so just getting ahead of things and taking it easy. Like now, I'm just learning some music, and it's actually a good quiet time to just be studying scores and then jumping into the intensity of the competition.
Awesome. Well, be sure and get some rest and eat right too.
I will
while
for
you're
sure. I'm
here.
eating so well. I'm trying to eat too much.
Thanks so much for joining us.
So much fun.
Okay, we are going to take you now to a little video we have that was prepared by our friends at Visit Dallas. Since we are at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, we thought you'd like to see a little bit of the city as well. Take a look.
Whenever I travel to new places, the first thing I start with is the art. What's the art scene like here in Dallas?
Thriving. There's music and visual art and theater and dance. A lot of it's right here in the Dallas Arts District.
I've been noticing a lot of the architecture out here is incredible.
We have 4 arts buildings, each designed by a different Pritzker Prize-winning architect, all right here in the Arts District. Dallas thinks big. Dallas is a bold, new city. There's a spirit of innovation that's happening in the art scene in Dallas right now that is so incredibly exciting. It's not just football and barbecue. Dallas is a world-class innovative art city.
In just a few moments, we'll be taking you down to the stage to hear our next competitor. She is Yiran Zhou, 15, from China, but we thought you might like to meet her first. Take a look.
My name is Yiran Zhou. I'm from Shanghai. I'm 15 years old. I started playing piano at 4 because my grandma, she loves music, she loves singing. When I was very young, she just sang to me. I practice a lot. I love music. I love opera. I want to come to Cliburn because I saw Jiwang Yan. I love her. And I also love Yun Chan Lim, the gold medalist last year.
You were hearing from Yiran Zhou, who's 15, from China, and she is next to take the stage at this preliminary round in the 2023 edition of the Cliburn International Junior Piano Competition and Festival. Bridget, she has a very interesting program planned with Bach, of course, because got to have you play some Bach. Then that LISZT etude that Jan Schulmeister gave us just a little bit earlier today, and then 2 transcriptions by Rachmaninoff of Chrysler violin pieces. Great program. You know, what I was thinking about is, I mean, she's giving us that Bach because, you know, Bach is Bach, and he sort of transcends sonority. It's the kind of thing where he sounds good on any instrument.
Correct.
But the rest of what he's doing is, the rest of what she is doing, I'm sorry, is so geared toward the sound of the romantic piano.
She sounds like such a wonderful ardent soul. And when I read her biography, there's a beautiful quote that she says in which it means inheritance to our generation to make music. And I think that's just such a poignant comment to make, where she's recognizing what's come before, but also pushing the art form forward. And that, I think that's a lot for a 15-year-old to feel and think. And that just shows, you know, the depth of her programming as well.
That's what I was going to say. It's a great big responsibility for a 15-year-old to be thinking like that already. And we've been talking a lot off camera about how artists of my generation and yours can push the art forward, and the things we can do to advance the art in a time when we are trying to get audiences back into the concert halls, into the theaters.
Absolutely.
It's been a very tricky time for us.
We're happy to see audiences coming back in droves, and I feel very good about the future because of these amazing young talents that are so passionate all over the world to bring this incredible repertoire to new audiences. I mean, they are spending how many hours a day practicing on top of their schoolwork? I mean, this is a passion that they're bringing to new audiences all over the world.
Some of us told us they've spent 8 to 10 hours a day practicing in the past month to get ready for this competition. We're just about ready to take you to stage to hear from Yiran Zhou, 15, from China, at this 2023 Cliburn International Junior Piano Competition and Festival. Here she comes. and Zhou, 15, from China, in a program of BACH, LISZT, and Rachmaninoff. We're going to meet our next competitor at 13, one of the youngest competitors this year. He is Eddison Chen from the United States. Take a look.
My name is Eddison Chen. I'm 13 years old and I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I actually learned the LISZT back in 2020. It was really hard to learn. It took me quite some time. In past competitions, usually I'd go to the competition, I'd meet these people, not know them very well. But in the Cliburn, it really is, you know, a life journey. It's a life experience. It's a lot of things that many other competitions don't offer.
That was Eddison Chen, of course, 13 from the United States. We're going to go quickly to our next competitor, who is Zhonghua Wei, 14 from China. He has a program of BACH, LISZT, and Nikolai Metner, our first Metner of the competition. Here is Zhonghua Wei to play his program in this preliminary round of the 2023 Cliburn International Junior Piano Competition, a program of BACH, Franz Liszt, and Nikolai Metner. Here is Zhonghua Wei. Zhonghua Wei, 14, from China in a program of Bach, Liszt, and Mettner at this 2023 Cliburn Junior Piano Competition and Festival. We sat down with Zhonghua on Tuesday, and this is what he had to tell us. Take a look.
I'm Zhonghua Wei. I'm 14 and I'm from Guangzhou, China. 我觉得很大一部分原因其实就是还是单纯的很喜欢弹琴，然后当然是有我的老师一直在给我很多有趣的作品啊，有很多有趣的不同的这个因素，或者说有推荐我去通过外面的世界的不同的景物啊，比如说娱乐活动啊，然后来让我能让我在钢琴里面找到更多的好玩的东西，然后就这样子一直下来。
We're so happy to be supported in this webcast by our friends at Texas Ballet Theater, helped by a generous grant from Ann T. and Robert M. Bass. If you haven't heard of Texas Ballet Theater, we've got you covered. Take a look. Texas Ballet Theater, happy to partner with them on this webcast this year. Okay, Bridget, let's wrap it up. Yiran, Eddison, and Zhonghua. What a round.
An
right?
incredible round to finish out the first session of the preliminaries. I was so impressed with Yiran. I felt like she had assigned specific characters to all of her lines, from the Bach Fugue to the Chrysler. It was really magical to see her so imaginative in that creation of lines.
And I think she really enjoyed playing those Chrysler pieces as well. She was looking forward to it, I could tell. Eddison Chen, one of our youngest.
Wow, incredible. I really feel like Eddison has a composer mind. I heard him making live choices in the architecture of the piece and the duration of the lines, but he was such a wonderful performer too, so much charisma and chops to burn. Really an incredible performer.
And just dead on rhythm, actually, in the Ligeti
100%.
Etude. That was our first Ligeti of the competition, of course, and sometimes performers can rush through it or make it a little bit difficult to read out in the audience, but his rhythm was dead on, I noticed, in the Bach.
Completely.
As
just
well.
Great command.
And of course, we just had a blazing performance by Zhonghua Wei.
Oh, another commanding performer. He was really incredible and just had chops to burn.
Remember, you can see a list of all our competitors, what they're going to play, and when they're going to play it at cliburn.org.
And also follow the social media platforms to get to know each of these competitors. I have found reading their biographies to be delightful, to see how their personalities play and areas outside the piano as well. You can also support the Cliburn by going to cliburn.org and donating and being a part of the festivities.
We'll be back tonight for our second round of the preliminaries at this 2023 Cliburn Junior. Performances start at 7 p.m. Central Time. Bridget and I will be back at 6:55. I'm Buddy Bray.
I'm Bridget Kibbe, and we'll see you tonight.
Thanks for watching this 2023 edition of the Cliburn International Junior Piano Competition and Festival. We'll see you soon.